At 82 years old, I've gathered a lifetime of experiences, learning countless lessons along the way. But there's one choice I made that still fills me with deep regret: moving into a nursing home. At the time, it felt like the most reasonable decision. My family reassured me that it would be the best option, that I would receive all the care and comfort I needed. I trusted them. I believed that this place would provide me with security, ease, and support. But when I arrived, I quickly realized that what I had imagined and what I was about to experience were two completely different things. I know that many of you might be considering this same path. Maybe for yourself, maybe for a loved one. You might think it's the safest choice. Maybe your family, like mine, has told you that it will make things easier. But before you take that step, I want to share 6 critical lessons I wish someone had told me before I made this life-changing decision. Because here's the truth. Life in a nursing home isn't just about convenience. It's about transformation. It alters everything: your routines, your freedoms, your very sense of self. And once you enter, leaving isn't as easy as you might think. Stay with me until the end, because some of what I'm about to tell you might shock you. And if you know someone who is thinking about transitioning into a nursing home, this message could be exactly what they need to hear before making a decision they can't undo. Regret number 1. Losing my independence. The biggest and most painful reality check wasn't the unfamiliar surroundings, the strict schedules, or even the tiny, impersonal room. No, the hardest part was something far more profound: the realization that I had completely lost control over my own life. Before I moved in, I had my own rhythm, my own way of doing things. I could decide when to wake up, when to eat, how I wanted to spend my day. If I wanted to take a walk, I did. If I felt like making my favorite meal, I cooked it. If I simply wanted to sit in my chair, in the comfort of my own space, and get lost in a good book, I had that freedom. But all of that disappeared the moment I entered the nursing home. Suddenly, my life ran on a schedule that wasn't mine. Breakfast was served at a fixed time, whether I was hungry or not. Lights out happened at a designated hour, whether I was ready to sleep or not. Even something as simple as stepping outside for fresh air required permission, and I often had to wait until someone was available to assist me. The choices I once took for granted, what to wear, what to eat, how to spend my time, became privileges that I no longer had full control over. I remember my first morning in the nursing home. I woke up, stretched, and instinctively reached for my book, the one I had been reading at home. But as my eyes adjusted to the sterile, unfamiliar room, it hit me like a punch to the gut. This wasn't my home, my favorite chair. The little trinkets and memories I had spent a lifetime collecting. Nowhere to be seen. Instead, I was surrounded by cold walls, impersonal furniture, and a strange, sinking feeling that I couldn't shake. The most painful part: realizing that once you give up your independence, getting it back isn't just difficult, it's nearly impossible. You adjust because you have to. You stop resisting when they tell you what's for dinner. You stop asking to go outside when you realize it's more trouble than it's worth. Slowly, bit by bit, you start fading into the system, and in doing so, you begin to lose pieces of yourself. So if you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you truly ready to surrender the small freedoms that make life feel like your own? Because once they're gone, you'll miss them more than you ever thought possible. Regret number 2. Feeling forgotten. One of the hardest realities of moving into a nursing home is realizing just how quickly the world moves on without you. When I first arrived, my family promised to visit often. And in the beginning they did. My daughter would come by once a week. My grandchildren stopped in on weekends. For a little while, it felt like I was still connected to my old life. But then, slowly, the visits became less frequent. My daughter started calling instead of coming. My grandchildren got busy with school, with work, with their own lives. Holidays, the times I had once cherished most, became the hardest of all. Everyone promised they would visit, but somehow at the last minute, plans always changed. And suddenly, I found myself sitting alone in the common room, watching other residents stare at the door, hoping, just like I was, that today would be the day someone remembered them. It wasn't that my family had stopped loving me. It was just that life kept moving and I wasn't a part of it anymore. When you're not seen every day, it's easy for people to assume you're doing just fine, that you've adjusted, that you don't need as much attention. But the longer you stay in a nursing home, the easier it is for people to forget just how much you still need them. I remember sitting in my room one evening, holding my phone, debating whether I should call my son. I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to remind him that I was here, waiting for a visit that might never come. So I put the phone down. And in that moment it hit me, this was my life now. Watching the days pass, hoping someone would remember to include me. So before you move into a nursing home, ask yourself, are you prepared for the loneliness? Because no matter how much your family loves you once you're out of sight, it's far too easy to become out of mind. When I first arrived at the nursing home, I met Alice, an 81-year-old woman who was full of energy and determination. She had this vibrant spirit, always saying, "Just because I'm older doesn't mean I'm slowing down." Every day, without fail, she would take walks around the facility, insisting that staying active was her way of proving age was just a number. But as the weeks passed, I started noticing changes. Her daily walks became less frequent. Then she began using a walker. Before long, that walker turned into a wheelchair. One afternoon, as we sat together in the lounge, she looked at me with tired eyes and whispered, "I don't even know when it happened, but I feel like I aged 10 years in just a few months." And that's exactly how it felt. When you stop using your body, you start losing it. Inside a nursing home, everything is designed to make life easier. Meals are prepared for you. Help is just a call button away. You don't have to stand in the kitchen, reach for items, or even move around much at all. Sounds convenient. But that's the danger. When everything becomes effortless, you start forgetting that movement isn't just about convenience. It's about survival. I didn't realize how quickly I was losing my own strength. At first, I told myself I was just taking it easy. But in reality, I was becoming weaker by the day. The less I moved, the harder it became to stand up without help. My legs felt stiffer. Walking short distances started feeling like a chore. And before I knew it, the body I had spent a lifetime keeping strong was betraying me. And I wasn't the only one. I saw it happen to others too. People who had walked in on their own 2 feet were now relying on wheelchairs. People who had once been independent now needed assistance with things they had never struggled with before. The more help we were given, the more dependent we became. If I had known how fast I would lose my strength, I would have fought harder to keep moving. I would have pushed myself, even on the days I didn't feel like it. Because once you slow down, getting back up isn't as easy as you think. So if you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, will you still have the motivation to keep your body strong when everything is set up to make life effortless? Because the moment you stop using your strength, you start losing it. If you're still watching this video and find these insights valuable, comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I highly recommend you do so and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Regret number 5. Losing my privacy and dignity. Before moving into a nursing home, I never really thought about how much privacy I had in my own home. It was just something I had always taken for granted. I could close my bedroom door when I wanted peace. I could sit in silence, reflect, and have complete control over my space. But once I moved in, that privacy disappeared. From the moment I arrived, it felt like I was constantly being watched. Staff came in and out of my room without warning. Scheduled room checks were routine. And shared living spaces meant that being alone was a rare luxury. Even the most basic things, getting dressed, using the bathroom, sometimes required assistance. And while I understood that the staff was only doing their job, it was still incredibly difficult to accept help for things I had done independently my entire life. I remember my first week there, struggling with the reality that I had to ask for permission to do things I had always done freely.